The tipping point. How little things can make a big difference. Malcolm Gladwell. The power of context. One set, for example, was a simple aptitude test development by the Institute for Educational Research. Precursor to the group that now developed the SAT. In the sentence completion test, children were asked to fill in words that have been left blank. For example, the poor people has nothing to has hungry. In the arithmetic test, children were given math questions like when sugar costs 10 cents a pound, how much will 5 pounds cost? And asked to write their answer in the margin. The tests were given in only a fraction of the time usually needed for completion, so most children had lots of unanswered questions, and when the time was up, the tests were collected and graded. The following day, the students were given the same kind of test again, with questions that were different but equal difficulty. This time, though, the students were given an answer key and under minimal supervision told to grade their own papers. Hasun and May, in other words, has set up a sting operation. With the answer in hand and lots of unanswered questions, the student had ample opportunity to cheat. And with the previous day's test in hand, Hasun and May could compare the first day's answer to the second, and get a good sense of how much his students was cheating. Another set of test was what was called speed test, much simpler measure of ability. Students were given 56 pair of numbers and told to add them. While they were shown a sequence of several hundred randomly arranged letters of the alphabet and asked to read through them and underline all the age. Students were allowed a minute to complete each of these tests. Then they were given another set of equivalent tests. Only this time, the time limit wasn't imposed at all, allowing the students to keep working if they wanted to. In all, the two psychologists administered countless different tests in countless different situations. They were children undertake tests of physical ability like chins up and broad jumps and secretly observed them to see whether they cheated in reporting how well they did. They gave students tests to do at home where they had simple opportunity to use dictionaries or ask for help, and compare those results to how they did on similar tests administered at school, where cheating was impossible. In the end, their result appeared 3 thick volume, and along the way, challenge a lot of preconception of what character is. Their first conclusion is, unsurprisingly, lots of cheating goes on. In one case, the score on tests were cheating was possibly 50% higher on average than the honest score. When Hudson and May began to look for patterns in the cheating, some of their findings were equally obvious. Smart children cheat a little less than the less intelligent children. Girls cheat about as much as boys. Older children cheat more than younger children, and those from stable and happy homes cheat a bit less than those from unstable and unhappy homes. If you analyze the data, you can find the general pattern of behavioral consistency from test to test. But the consistency isn't nearly as high as you might expect. There isn't one tight little circle of cheater and one tight little circle of honest students. Some kids cheat at home, but not at school. Some kids cheat at school, but not at home. Whether or not a child cheated one, say, a word completion test was not an ironclad predictor of whether he or she would cheat one, say, the underlying age part of the speed test. If you gave the same group of kids the same test under the same circumstance 6 months apart, husband and May found the same kids would cheat in the same ways in both cases. But once you changed any of those variables, the material on the test or the situation in which it was administered, the kind of cheating would change as well. What Hudson and May conclude then is what something like honesty isn't a fundamental trait or what they called an unified trait, a trait like honest. They conclude is considerably influenced by the situation. Most children, they wrote, most children will deceive a certain situation and not in others. Lying, cheating, and stealing as measured by the test situation used in this study are only very loosely related. Even cheating in the classroom is rather highly specific. For a child have cheated on an arithmetic test and not on a spelling test, etc. Whether a child will practice deceit in any given situation depends in part on his intelligence, age, home background, and like or in part of the nature of the situation itself, and his particular relation to it. This, I realize, this seems widely counterintuitive. If I asked you to describe the personality of your best friends, you could do so easily. And you want to say things like, my friend Howard is incredibly generous, but only when I ask him for things, not when his family asks him for things. Well, my friend Alice is wonderfully honest when it comes to her personal life, but at work, she can be very slippery. You would say instead that your friend Howard is generous and your friend Alice is honest. All of us, when it comes to personality, naturally think in terms of absolute. That a person is a certain way or is not a certain way. But Zimbardo and Houston and May are suggesting is that this is a mistake. That when we think only in terms of inherent trait and forget the role of situation, we are deceiving ourselves about the real cause of human behavior. Why do we make this mistake? It's probably the result of the way evolution has structured our brain. For instance, anthropologists who study bobcat find that these kinds of monkey are really bad at picking up significance of things like an antelope carcass hanging in a tree, which is a sure sign that a leopard is in the vicinity, or the presence of bison tracks. Bobcat have been known to march into a thicket, ignoring a flash trail of python tracks, and then act stunned when they actually come across the snake itself. This doesn't mean that bobcat are stupid. They are very sophisticated when it comes to questions that have to do with other bobcat. They can hear the call of male bobcat and recognize whether it comes from their own group or a neighboring group. If bobcat hear a baby bobcat cry of distress, they look immediately, not in the direction of the baby, but at its mother. They know instantly whose baby it is. A baby, on the other word, is very good at processing certain kind of verbatious information, but not so good at processing other kinds of information. The same is true of humans.